I grew up my whole life as a PK, and you kind of know the ins and outs of ministry and what it is to be in hospitals and pray for people and see healing or see people being delivered. And you see all these things, and yet you still don't believe. And so for me, I stopped not believing at 24 when I truly had a very personal encounter with God. For me, where I wanted to give up on my faith, because for me, it was just like, man, my mindset in that season was, I'd rather just not follow Christ and just do whatever I want and not have to be worrying about trying to please this God, was my mentality. And that's me still growing up in church,
right?
Knowing scripture, knowing truth, knowing promises from God. And yet that was my mindset. And I remember on a Sunday just wanting to give up, and I was on my knees and I'm telling God, I'm sorry, but I'm done. And I just remember God's voice coming over me and saying, I've never given up on you. Why would you give up on me now? And as he was saying that, I was reliving moments where I felt like I was by myself. And it was almost as if it was like a blurry image of someone sitting next to me in every single one of those aspects where I said, man, I just feel like I'm alone. And it's just like, it's that, and what comes to my mind when we're talking about this is just God's redeeming power. And that's kind of like what's been ministering to me for 2023 is like, I'm redeeming you again, because I've had a season where I've kind of doubted in so many areas in my faith, and I've kind of lost a sense of purpose.
Your message.
And right. And so lost the sense of purpose, and still being at church and leading worship and just seeing it as a responsibility.
Right.
And God has truly redeemed me recently, and I'm in a process now where I was studying the story of the two thieves on the cross with Jesus, and that one thief that kept saying, talking about Jesus, you don't have to, he doesn't deserve to be here, but we do. And he acknowledges Jesus for who he was, even though he wasn't saved, but knew who Jesus was, and said, remember me when you're in your kingdom.
There we go.
And then Jesus said, surely today you will be with me in paradise. That moment of redemption saved him, even when, even in his darkest hour. And yet, because he acknowledged Jesus for who he was, he had faith in who he was redeemed and he was saved.
I love that, bro.
And that's a
great picture of the scriptures.
Right. And and that to me is just the most pivotal moment of the power of the gospel, because that right there, in the midst of his disciples following him and then going back to what they were doing after, but yet this one man, this thief, who deserved to be up there, but yet still acknowledged Jesus for who he was, and Jesus took him. And so it's just like, that's been speaking to me so much of just renewing my faith in him again. And almost this process of just like, man, God is redeeming me and making me remind me just how much he loves me and just how much he desires to just pursue me.
And thank you so much. Please subscribe to the show. We got a lot of new peeps here as guests, and I'm sure we have a lot of new listeners. So if you guys enjoyed this show, please subscribe. Please share it with a friend. Please subscribe to the YouTube. Check out the clips that we post. We're always trying to put out great Christian content that allows to bring more people closer to Christ and just really uplift the ministry and what we're doing out here in Texas. So much love to you guys, and thank you so much.